Hi, this is Mark from Skywagon University doing another just like a video, not really a year model changes video because it's a bird dog and you know, they're just bird dogs, but this is just going to be a video about bird dogs. Somebody asked for one and there happens to be one on the field that we've borrowed from a kind person up here who let me have it. They made them from 50 to 59. This is a 51. They were used afterwards, and there was aftermarket production of them as well that went into the 60s, and they were kind of retired sort of from the military in 74. So they saw action in Korea, they saw action in the Vietnam War, and they're basically a modified 170. Cessna was asked to produce a high visibility, low flight, STOL, liaison, observer type aircraft. So they already had the 170. If you look at it, you can see a lot of 170 on it. 170 wings, 170 struts, 170 gear, and then the fuselage from here back, 170. So they already had the tail wheel, they already had all the major pieces. So what they did for the Army was they just built this fuselage, an engine. It has a few other things on it, like it has incredible flaps, 60 degrees. So we're going to do a little bit of a walk around it. I'll show you inside it, I'll show you the engine, show you the flaps. Let's do it. In here is an 0470-11. So the Dash 11s, they're 213 horsepower. Strange number, but they're 213 horsepower, and the Dash 11 is fixed pitch. So you can see, obviously, it's a fixed pitch prop. The Dash 13 is a constant speed. So you can get these with constant speeds, and they've been modified after the fact with 470s, you know, from 182s, 180s, even 520s. Some of them have, there's even a variant, I can't remember which country did it, but there was a turbine version of it, which had a little turboprop in it. But it's a good old 6-cylinder air-cooled Continental with 2 magnetos. It's got a pressure carb, so you need a boost pump to start it. And this is all done for the military. You can see it's got all the numbers on it. It uses 80 octane gas. It's at 1500 RTBO. It'll burn about, you know, in liaison mode, loitering, it'll burn about 10 gallons an hour. So it's got a 5-hour duration. So that is the engine on them. So inside a bird dog, and there's 4 different names for this plane. This is either a L-19, it's a bird dog, it's a Cessna 305A, it's an 01, depending on who was using it, but they're all basically the same. So this is kind of military still. It's green, it's got big gyros on it, switches with safety catches over them, but it's been modernized too. There's a really nice little Garmin transponder and a 430 down here. It's a stick, strangely. It's Cessna's only tandem stick tail dragger. Everything else was yokes and side by side. The way the brakes work is kind of ingenious because it does everything. If you have a look down here, you lift up this bar, which pushes on the brakes. It gets harder and harder and harder, and then it locks right there on that pin. And now the control surfaces are locked, the wheels are locked, the brakes are on, and then to get rid of it, you just literally lift it up, put it down, go. Everything's released. I like that. It's got a V-brace in it because it has a float kit. I'll show you that outside. The throttle quadrant's kind of military too. It's got a electric flap. Some of them are manual. We had an Ecta once for sale, a 67 yellow, nice CAP plane with manual flaps. This has electric flaps and then a big old military throttle here. The mixture, if you can see it, is got a ratchet on it, so it comes back. When it goes forward, it clicks, but it cannot come back unless you release this ratchet. So you, in a hurried situation, you don't hit it by accident. That's quite a nice feature. Carb heat's on the side. It's just one unit. Obviously brakes in the front, single seat. So very sort of warbirdy military in the front. Now we're just going to get a slightly different view. So the brakes for the back seat, if they're not in use, they're stowed. They're flat like this. If you need them, you just pull them up, and this pin locks, and now you got a brake. Hopefully 2 actually. And then you just pull up that pin, stow them again. So they stay flat. This is just the controls for the rear stick, which is here. So it's exactly the same front and rear. You solo it from the front, and then the whole cabin, as you can see, is observation. Massive rear window for looking backwards. These side windows open inward, which is actually great. On a summer's day, you can fly with these windows up these come down like this. You fly with them up, these open, and you've got incredible visibility all the way around and vertically. And then because the fuselage tapers, you can look straight down without sticking your head too far out. And inside it, if you bring in the camera up and have a look, you can see the flat motor is there. It's just a little electric motor, cable driven. There's the fuel selector. It's basically left, right and off. It holds 39 gallons total. Fuel gauge, GPS mount, hobs, and then another window that opens all the way out. And then, since I'm in the cockpit, let's have a look at the flaps coming down, because they are pretty impressive. I'll turn on the battery. And the flaps. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I probably didn't get the numbers right on the way down, but they end up at 60. I mean, look at that from here. It's almost vertical. So if you wanted to come down in a hurry or slow down, those are incredibly effective flaps. They're very similar to other Cessnas, they just come down a lot more. Just to put it into perspective, this is what a 182 would be like. That's a 182, about there. That's full flaps on a 182. That's full flaps on an L19 Bird Dog. And I like making them go up and down, as you've noticed, because anything that goes in a military plane is just cool. So I'm going to put them away now. So as we walk across the front of it, you can see how the fuselage starts narrow at the bottom and tapers widely out to the top, which allows very good downward visibility with the windows closed on it. They've got a very nose-high stance too. These planes, these and Super Cubs were the liaison planes that the Army wanted back in 1949, and they opted for this. This plane will take off and land with no obstacles in 600 feet. They say land in 600 and take off in 580. So in and out of 600 feet for a big metal 2-seat tail dragger with 40 gallons of gas in it and a 470. It's a real warbird. It's actually very good. If you want to own a warbird that's practical, you don't have to have a giant radial 9-cylinder engine that burns 50 gallons an hour, you can get an L19 or a 305A or a Bird Dog or any number of other names that they have. So this one's got a float kit too. Similar to an early 180 or a 170 with a float kit. It's just a reinforced diamond structural patch on it with the 4 holes. That's where the float attach blocks bolt through. That's something that's nice on them. They can have a constant speed prop, a float kit, or a fixed pitch prop, no float kit, depending on what they were. And then the aftermarket sort of Ector Bird Dogs that were built after the Army, after Cessna stopped building them for the Army. Ector was a company that made them from parts, basically, and you could basically have them any way you wanted. So we used to have one that had a float kit, more gas, a constant speed prop, bigger 470 in it, a yellow one, Civil Air Patrol. That was an excellent plane. I went to the High Sierra fly-in in that thing. Top of the wings, 170 wings, lifting eyes, float kit, gas caps, 39 gallons, and all the observation windows. Very unique. The tanks are metal, and they're not bladders. They're metal tanks that are underneath the skin inside the wing, not like a 182 where it's a rubber bladder in there. And then the normal aileron flat configuration of all the Cessnas that started about then in the late 40s, early 50s. So this would be the equivalent of like a 170B Strat flap configuration. On the fuselage, we've got tail cone lift handles. So it stops you having to wrestle with the tail, so those slide in and out. And then the tail wheel is pretty much a 170 tail wheel, a leaf spring, steerable, doesn't lock, there's a tight end ring on it, a very good system. And then the elevators and horizontal are very much 170. Quick story about bird dog, a famous bird dog. At the end of the Vietnam War, when Saigon was taken, a South Vietnamese Major Buang Ly loaded his 5 children and his wife and himself into one of these. There's a 2-seater. So there's 6 people in it. And with limited fuel, headed out to sea, trying to get to the Midway aircraft carrier. When he got there, he circled over it and dropped a note to say, could he have permission to land and could they clear the decks? The captain of the ship, realizing what was happening, pushed $10 million worth of Hueys into the sea to make enough space. And he landed that thing with 6 people on it, on the deck. And that plane is in the Pensacola Naval Museum still today. So it just shows if they have to, they can. Anyway, Bird Dog L19, Cessna 305A. This is Mark from Skywagons University. Thanks for watching. If you like these videos, there's a little subscribe button down there and a bell next to it. Click on the bell because the bell means you'll get notifications of other videos, and we're going to be doing a lot more videos, so thanks very much for watching.